The Three Little Super Pigs. Once upon a time, there were three little pigs. Three little super pigs, to be exact. The older star-spangled brother, the middle and more practical pig, and the last and youngest web-slinging sibling, their little sister. And so it came time when their mother said that she was done paying their enormous phone bills and student loans, and so it was off into the world for them to find their futures and build their homes. Now, the first little pig went by the name of Spiral Ham, otherwise known as Swine Stacy. Now, Swine, or Swen as she was known with her friends, had a special talent for all things spidery. And one thing spiders are known for is web spinning. Being known to spin a good web, Swen went right to work. And within minutes, there stood the most beautiful web that would even put Charlotte green with envy. And speaking of green, it wasn't long after that her home attracted visitors, and one of them was clearly on his way. For along came the biggest, meanest, baddest wolf of them all, the incredibly big, bad Bark. Now, the Bark was known in the local woodland community for having a bad temper when things didn't go his way, and never one to ask politely. The incredible Bark just yelled, little pig, let Bark in!" But Swen just looked down, shook her head at his rudeness, and said, "Not by the hair of my super-powered chin." This made Bark mad, so he huffed, and he puffed, and he... Well, that would be true in another story, but this is the incredible Bark. And incredible Barks don't blow houses down. They... Exactly, and so he did. Bark smashed and smashed and smashed her house in, leaving nothing left but one sad little super pig. Once Bark was gone, Swen wondered where she would go. "I know what I'll do. I'll ask my brother if I can stay with him." And so Spiral Ham set off into the city to find the middle brother's home. Now, the middle brother was a little more practical, and he made his fortune inventing all sorts of gadgets. He went by Iron Ham, but under the helmet, he was known as Tony Pork. So when Swen asked her brother Tony if she could please stay with him, her brother smiled and said, "You asked politely, so yes, you may." Much jubilation was had by all, but not long after came that familiar sound of the angry stomping and clomping of the incredibly big bad Bark. Now Bark saw the size of this new house and the pigs playing happily inside. This made Bark even greener and meaner. Little pigs, let Bark in!" But Tony just looked down, shook his head at Bark's rudeness, and said, "Not by the hair of my ironclad chin." So Bark huffed, and he puffed, And he smashed and smashed and smashed that house in, leaving nothing left but two sad little super pigs. Once Bark was gone, they both wondered where they should go. "I know what we'll do," said Ironham. "We'll ask our brother if we can stay with him." Now the oldest brother, and I do mean older, loved anything and everything retro, and was much more old school. But most importantly, he always made sure to treat everyone, all people equally, and his name was Hampton Tamerica. So when his two siblings asked, "Can we please stay with you?" because they asked so politely, Hampton answered, "Yes, you may." Much jubilation was had by all. Now Hampton didn't just live in any house, whether you could call it a shielded helicopter carrier or at least an airborne ark. It was truly a home befitting a patriotic pig. But it was not long after that dreaded sound of an even angrier, incredibly big bad Bark came stomping and clomping along. Now Bark saw the size of this new house and the pigs playing happily inside. This made Bark even angrier and meaner. Little pigs, let Bark in!" But Hampton just looked down, shook his head at Bark's rudeness, and said, "Not by the hair of my patriotic chin." So Bark huffed, and he puffed, and he smashed and smashed and smashed. But the house was still there. This made Bark furious, and he became even more angry. So he stomped and stomped and stomped and stomped and stomped. But the house was still there. Humph! Bark sat and sulked. Bark huff, Bark puff, Bark stomp, and smash. Why Bark still no get in? Now, when you want something, is it nice to yell and scream and throw things to get what you want? No. So have you tried taking a breath, think, use your manners, and maybe try asking politely? Little pigs, can Bark please come in? And Hampton said, "Because you asked so politely, yes, you may. Because kindness is a superpower." That made Bark feel really good inside. So Bark wasn't so incredibly big and bad anymore, because he wasn't so incredibly mad anymore. And now he could go back to being his regular self of Brute Banner. Now Brute was happy, and never had to be angry without friends again, because by being kinder, he had superpowers too. And if we all use a little more kindness, then maybe we too can all live happily ever after. Hey fellow YouTubers, if you like what you see, please hit like and subscribe. And if you want to see more, just click on the button where you can donate and be a paying contributor, where you can see more things like read alouds, drawing tutorials, virtual field trips, cartoons, and more. See more at StoryJ Storytime, and I'll see you next time.